Okay, this is Sheikh Uthman, and he's talking with David Wood about the Quranic miracles. And he's going to say that water and the throne are the first two things that Allah creates. But what's interesting is that he will say that all life forms come from water.
Nothing else besides that. Nothing is eternal except Allah and His sifat, whatever belongs to Allah. Okay? The first thing that was created, you with me so far, is water and the throne.
Was water and the throne the first things created? Here we have a hadith that says the white clouds were there. Why did Uthman forget about the white clouds? And Uthman completely ignored the pen. Allah sometimes says the pen was the first thing he created.
Now understand something. When we say that water, we don't mean like a river, because there's no world, right? This means this is the building blocks of the entire, not just the universe, every creation. Okay.
So actually the throne is over the water. It doesn't say anything about building blocks or getting heavens and earth from the water. It just says the throne is over the water.
Okay. From that, in the way that Allah willed, there was gases made, and the heavenly bodies were gases at a time from the water, and then they came to be. And that was the build.
Okay, so the Quran says nothing about gases. I don't know where he's getting that. He's going down the scientific road, trying to line up the Quran with science, and so far he's making stuff up.
Building block of all of creation. Okay? But we don't mean that everything's made of water, like we took water and made it into a building, right? Just want to be clear. Go ahead.
Uthman is contradicting himself. He just told us that the throne was made from the water.
And it's every living thing. Right?
Sure. I mean, everything's alive in certain ways anyway.
So, angels and jinn are living things, right? Angels and jinn are made from water?
Yes.
They're made from water?
Yes. Let me explain how.
Okay, that's not true. The Quran says that jinn are made from fire. So he's making stuff up.
Right? This is why that's why I'm glad you're here. I'm not insulting you. I'm saying this is where your brain is going to grow today. Why did you assume I'm going to insult you? See? Su'adan. Don't think bad about me.
So Uthman just lied about Quran 15:27. So what are we supposed to do? What are we supposed to think good about him?
Let's keep going. Right. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala created everything's building block from that original water. From that water, then develop different things. Okay? Like I said, don't take water to be like a river.
Okay, so the note on the top says cells are the building blocks of life. Oh, that's not water. And water is the most abundant molecule in cell, accounting for 70% or more of the total cell mass.
Alright, let's go back to this. So, when Allah made the building block of the universe water, gases become, for example, planets. Planets then, for example, have wood and things like this, like on Earth, right? From that we have fire. It doesn't mean you take water and then suddenly you make it into a mountain. If I was to take, for example, you know the Earth, for example, right? The Earth comes from what? From like scientists that say that a part of the sun or some kind of body came, ripped out and made the Earth, right? Are you getting what I'm saying or no? Okay. So I'll give you an easier example. Let's say a part of a sun in the universe breaks off because of a collision. And as it rotates, as it cools, it becomes a planet. Okay? Then on that planet, from that building block, now you get ice on it. And water comes. And then you take that water and you make a drink. And you say, hey, this is originally from that fire. And I tell you, oh, you're saying water is made from fire. No. The Quran is telling you the building block of all of creation was water. But from it then came different elements. From those elements came different elements. From them came a fire that Allah knows best. We don't mean the fire that's in your oven, that Allah made the jinn from.
So the water came first, and then the fire, and then the jinn. Oh, I understand. That makes perfect sense, right? No.
From that came a nur, a light, that Allah then made malaika from that. From them came a teen, a earth that Allah made insan from. But if you took it back to the beginning of creation, that would have all come from that original water that Allah created. We have a lesson. I'm trying to help you here, honestly. You can even turn the camera off. I'm just telling you, right?
turn the camera off because what you're saying is totally stupid. I'm taking cosmology and nobody says that the universe started with water. Nobody says that. It's all a bunch of hogwash.
We have a lesson on the life of the Prophet ﷺ. And I know all your little buddies are going to take clips and make fun of it, but I don't mind. Go ahead. Go and watch that video. It talks about the beginning of creation, how everything came from water. If you have, this question would have already been answered, but inshallah I've answered it now.
So let's watch his video and see what it says about the beginning of life.
Do we know what is the first thing that Allah created? Anyway. Al-Qalam, the pen, the Arsh. But what was the first thing that we know of that Allah created? That we know of? The Lawh, the tablet. There are 5 major opinions amongst the scholars of Islam.
Okay, so there's 5 major opinions amongst Muslim scholars on what was created first, and Uthman wants us to believe water. Why should we believe him? He seems to be a liar.
As you probably know, a water molecule consists of 2 basic parts. Hydrogen, the simplest of all elements, has been around since close to the beginning of our universe. Oxygen entered the scene several hundred million years later, after stars began to form.
Okay, did you see that hydrogen came first, and then oxygen, and then water? So right away we know that the Quran is wrong.
When stars eventually collapsed and exploded into supernovas, these new elements were spread across the universe and combined into new compounds, like the now familiar H2O. These water molecules were present in the dusty cloud that formed our solar system, and more collided with our planet after its formation. But there's a big question that we don't have the answer to. How much water arrived on Earth? And when? Scientists have long suspected that much of it was brought by ice-bearing comets, or more likely, asteroids that bombarded the Earth over millions of years. Recent research has challenged this theory. In examining carbonaceous chondrite meteorites that formed shortly after the birth of our solar system, scientists have found that not only did they contain water, but their mineral chemical composition matched rocks on Earth and samples from an asteroid that formed at the same time as our planet. This suggests that the Earth may have accumulated a substantial amount of water early on that was able to stay put despite the lack of an atmosphere.
Let's see how important water is compared to carbon.
Carbon is actually essential for life. In fact, life as we know it is carbon-based. So carbon-based life. Now, why is carbon so valuable for life? Why does it form the backbone of the molecules that make life possible? Well, it all comes down to where it sits in the periodic table and its atomic number and how it tends to bond with things. So this is why chemistry is important. Now, I'm claiming to you that it's the backbone of life, or life as we know it. And it's even the backbone of life as you are, life in the form of you. We've already talked about you being a majority water, and that's why if you look at the average human being is going to be roughly, depends on how well hydrated you are and your stage of development, the average human being is going to be 65% oxygen by mass. So you're 2/3 oxygen. That's because of all of the water. Water is H2O, and oxygen forms the bulk of the mass of the water molecule. But in second place comes carbon. Carbon is approximately 18% of your body's mass. So hopefully this gives you a better appreciation for carbon. It's not just useful for pencils and diamonds, but even if you're just looking at your hand, you're looking at a lot of carbon.
So, with that said, you can see that Uthman is barking up the wrong tree. The carbon is a substantial part of our bodies, and the oxygen is 65%. And H2O might be a foundational part of where life might begin. You still, without oxygen and without carbon, you do not have life. So the Quran is 100% wrong. Water is important. It's not the building block of life. Pray that Uthman will repent and